Students, welcome to Prudence Coaching. Today we came up with a new chapter, that is voice change. Students, we all know voice change is one of the important topic for ICSE, WBBSE as well as for all competitive exams. Students, today we are going to learn voice change in a different way. Yes, students, in a different way and in the easiest possible way. This is first time in YouTube that you will learn in this method, and this is going to be the easiest way. And at the end we will end up with a song. It's a song made with the rules of voice change, and this song is going to be very easy, and by using this song you can remember all rules of voice change. So students, let's start with the topic. We will start from the basic. My dear students, we all know voice is of two types. One is active voice, another is passive voice. But students, do you know what is an active voice and what is a passive voice? Students, some of you may say that active voice is a sentence where there is no by, whereas passive voice is a sentence where there is by. But students, this conception or your concept is absolutely wrong. Why wrong, students? Okay, we will clear it out with an example. Our example is India won the cricket match by defeating Sri Lanka. Students, here we can find by. So according to our concept which we had earlier, that if we find by in a sentence, then the sentence is passive. So students, according to our conception, it must be passive voice. But students, this sentence is active voice. Why active, students? This is active because in this sentence, the subject is doer of the action. That means the verb is performed by the subject. Here, India is the subject which is performing the verb own. That means the Indian team or Indian player won the cricket match. The verb own is performed by India. So as the action is performed by the subject India, so this sentence is active voice. We will learn more about active voice later, but some of you may not know what is a subject. So first we will clear what is a subject. A subject is a noun or a pronoun. Students, subject may be either a noun or a pronoun. Do you know what is a noun? Noun is anything that is a name. That is, noun is a naming word. So name of any person or anything is always a noun. Students, what is a pronoun? Do you know what is a pronoun? Okay, students. Pronoun is a word which we use instead of a noun to stop the repetition of a noun. Students, so we have learned that subject may either be a noun or a pronoun which comes before a verb. Verb, students, what is a verb? Verb is a word which shows any action performed by the subject or which shows the state of being of the subject. For example, Rita is a good girl. Here, is the word which is showing the state of being of Rita. What state of being? The state of being here is a good girl. So by the word is, we are showing that Rita is a good girl. So is here is a verb. Another example, he plays every day. Here the subject he is doing a action, that is plays. That is plays. So plays is an action performed by the subject he. So here plays is a verb. So students, we have learned that subject may be a noun or a pronoun which comes before a verb in assertive sentence. So in assertive sentence, we will always find the subject before a verb, which answers the question who or what to the verb. That means if we ask the question what or who to the verb, the answer which we will get will be the subject. For example, he plays every day. Here, plays is our verb. If we ask who plays, then we get answer he. So here, he is the subject. Then again, if we take another example, Rita is a good girl. Here is a verb. If we ask who is a good girl, if we ask who to the verb, then we get answer Rita. So here Rita is a subject. So students, we learn that subject is either a noun or a pronoun which comes before a verb in assertive sentence, which answers the question who or what to the verb. Now I think your concept regarding subject is clear. Now we will start with active voice. First we will learn the definition of active voice, that is what is a active voice. My dear students, we will consider a sentence to be in active voice if we find the subject is the doer of the action in that sentence. That means the action or the verb. If the action or the verb is performed by the subject, then the sentence will be in active voice. Students, let us clear it out with an example. Here, our example is Rani writes a letter. Students, we can easily understand the word writes is the verb here. If we ask a question to the verb who writes, then we get the answer Rani. From this we understand that Rani is the subject here. Now students, if we want to find out that who is performing the action here, then we get the answer that Rani is performing the action writes. The verb is performed by Rani, which is the subject of the sentence. So, as the subject of the sentence is the doer of the action writes, so here the sentence Rani writes a letter is in active voice. So students, I think now your conception regarding active voice is clear. Now we will learn what is passive voice. My dear students, passive voice is opposite of active voice. Why opposite, students? Because we have learned in active voice that active voice is a sentence where the subject is the doer of the action. That means the subject will perform the action. But in passive voice, we will learn subject is not the doer of the action. That means a sentence where subject is not performing the action or the verb is not performed by the subject, such kind of sentences or statements we will consider to be passive voice. Let us understand with the example. A letter is written by Rani. Here the verb is written. But before the verb we have a word, that is a letter or letter. Students, letter here is not writing. Here the letter is written by Rani. That means here the object Rani is performing the action, not the subject letter. So students, here in this statement we find that A letter is written by Rani. That means the object is performing the action. Object is the doer of the action, not the subject. So as in this statement, the subject is not the doer of the action. Thus, this statement is in active voice. Students, now I think your concept regarding active voice and passive voice is clear. Now we will see some examples of active and passive voice. Then we will start with the rules to change active to passive. My dear students, if we see the first example under active voice, it is given Pooja rejects the proposal. Students, here the verb is rejects, which means to cancel something, and the verb here rejects is done by Pooja, which is also the subject of the verb. So, as in this sentence, Pooja is the subject as well as the doer of the action, that is rejects. So, this statement is in active voice, because active voice is where the subject is the doer of the action. Now, under passive voice, our example is the proposal is rejected by Pooja. Students, here as the statement is in assertive, so we will always find the subject before the verb. Here the subject is the proposal and the verb is rejected. But student, if we ask question to the verb, that is who is the doer of the action, that means who has rejected the proposal, then we will find the answer, that is Pooja, which is not a subject here. Here the subject is proposal, but proposal is not the doer of the action. That means proposal is not doing any work here, but the work is done by the object Pooja. So as in the statement, proposal, that is the subject, is not the doer of the action. Thus, this statement or sentence is in passive voice. Students, now we will learn how to change voice. My dear students, let us learn how to change from active to passive voice. Here our question is he eats the cake. Here the verb is eats, which is performed by he. He is the doer of the action as well as the subject of the sentence. Therefore, this statement is in active voice. If we want to change this statement into passive voice, then our answer is the cake is eaten by him. Why not A or C? Students, this one we will clear while going through the steps which we have to follow to change from active to passive. We have 4 steps to convert a statement in active to passive. Let us learn them. Our first step to convert a statement in active to passive is, first we have to identify the subject and object. Students, our example is he eats the cake. In this sentence, we find that the verb is eats, E-A-T-S, and before the verb, the subject is he, and the object was what is eaten by he eats the cake. That means the cake is the object here. Students, now we have found out that the subject in this statement is he and the object is the cake. Our next job is to interchange or swap the subject and object. That means we have to bring the object as a subject in passive voice and the subject of the active voice will become the object of the passive voice. Students, now you can see that the cake we have taken as the subject, but he becomes him in the passive voice. Why him, students? he becomes him because there is a change in pronoun when we interchange from subject to object. That means he is the subjective form whereas him is the objective form. So as the pronoun changes in object form, therefore we have used him. Students, let us learn what the pronoun becomes in object. I becomes me, we becomes us, you remains you, he becomes him, she becomes her, it remains it, they becomes them. So students, we have learned what is the changes we find in pronoun when we change from the subjective form to their objective form. My dear students, after the first step, our second step is to identify the tense of the given verb in the active voice. That is, we have to find out the tense of the verb given in active voice. For this student, you need a basic knowledge on the structure of tenses. Students, if you don't know the structure of tenses, I will request you to watch the video uploaded in this channel on tenses. You will find the chapter voice change easier after going through the structure of the tense. Let's start. Students, our example, that is the statement in active voice, is he eats the cake. Here, if we see the structure, we have subject, then we have added s with the V1 form of the verb. Students, this one we find in simple present tense, where the subject plus V1 form, and if the subject is third person singular, then we add s or es or ies with the verb. See, in this given sentence, the subject is third person singular, that is he. Thus, we have added s with the V1 form, that is it. So, here the tense is in simple present. So, students, we have identified the tense. Now, our next job is to use the to be form of the tense that is given in active voice. As in active voice, our tense is simple present. Therefore, we have to use to be form in the passive voice, which will also be in simple present. Students, you need to know the to be form of simple present. The to be form of simple present are is, am, and are. Is, am, and are, which we have to use according to the new subject. As in passive voice, our new subject will be the object of the active voice. So according to it, we have to use is, am, are here because our tense is in simple present. So students, as our subject, that is the new subject, is in singular, so we have used is, that is the singular verb. We use am with the subject I, is with the singular subject, and are with you and other plural subjects. So students, as our tense in the active voice was in simple present, so we have to choose to be form of simple present tense, that is, am, and are. Students, the to be form of simple past tense is, was, were. The to be form of future tense, that is simple future tense, is be. The to be form of continuous tense, that is V1 plus ing. If we find V1 plus ing in active voice, then we have to use being, that is the to be form of continuous tense. Next, if we find the perfect tense, that is the past participle form in the active voice, then we have to use been, which is the to be form of perfect tense. So students, according to the tenses in the active voice which is given, we have to use the to be form. But we have to remember that the to be form which we will use will be according to our new subject. After completing this, our third step is to choose the past participle form, that is V3 form of the given verb. Students, here the verb is eats, E-A-T-S, which is eat in V1. V1 means the base form. The base form of the verb is eat, and the V3 form is eaten, and V2 form is ate. V2 means the past and V3 means the past participle. So we have to use the past participle form in passive voice. In passive voice we always use the past participle or V3 form of the given verb. So it's become eaten here. So students, till now we have performed 3 steps. Our first step was to change subject to object and object to subject, that is to swap subject and object. After that we have used the to be form according to the tense in the active voice, and next step we have used the V3 form of the given verb in the active voice, and our last and the easiest step is to use a preposition before the object. We mostly use by. So in the last step our final answer becomes the cake is eaten by him. We have used by before the object him. So our final answer is the cake is eaten by him. So students, after performing these 4 simple steps, we can easily change the simple sentences from active to passive. So our steps are: first to swap subject and object. Next step is to use to be form of the correct tense given in the active voice, but we have to choose it according to the new subject. Our next step, that is the third step, is to use the past participle, that is the V3 form of the given verb. And the last step is to use a preposition. We mostly use by, which we have to use before the object. Students, we will go through some of the example. I have classified it into different tenses that will be easier for you to understand. After doing some of the examples, we will learn other form, that is how to change from imperative sentence in active to passive, interrogative sentence in active to passive. We will learn if the sentence in active voice has 2 objects, how to change it into passive voice. Next we will learn if we have preposition with the verb, how to change it into passive voice. Before that we will go through this example. Our first question is, I write a letter. Students, according to our steps, our first step will be to interchange the subject and object. Here in active voice the subject is I, and we know the objective form of the subject I is me. So the subject I becomes me in the object. Next, our letter, which is the object in active voice, becomes the subject of the passive voice. The next step is we have to find out the tense in active voice. See, if we see the given structure, then we will find that the tense is in simple present tense, because the structure of simple present tense is subject plus verb, that is the base form of the verb V1 form, and we add is or es or ies with the verb if our subject is third person singular. Students, here the subject is I, which is not a third person singular. After that we have write, that is the V1 form of the verb, and we have not added s, es or ies with it because our subject is not third person singular. So from this structure we can understand that the given tense in active voice is in simple present tense. So As we have found out that the tense is simple present tense, so we have to use to be form of simple present tense in passive. So students, we have learned before that the to be form of simple present tense is am, is or are, which we have to choose according to the new subject. Students, our new subject is a letter which is singular. Therefore, we will use is with it. We use am with I and are with you and other plural verbs. So, as our subject is a letter which is singular, so as our verb is in simple present tense, we have used is, which is to be form of simple present tense. And next we have written the V3 form of the given verb, that is written. The V3 form of write is written. And our fourth step is to use a preposition before the object. Here the object is me and before it we have used by. In the most of the cases we use by before the object. So our answer, that is the final answer in passive voice, is a letter is written by me. Our next example is I wrote a letter in active voice. First we will swap the subject and object. I becomes me in the object. A letter becomes our subject which was object in active voice. Our next step is to find out the tense given in active voice. Students, it is simple past tense because the structure of simple past tense is subject plus V2, that is the past form of the verb. Here the subject is I and after I we have wrote, W-R-O-T-E, which is the past form of the verb write, that is the V2 form. As this structure matches with the structure of simple past tense, so we can say that the tense in the active voice is simple past tense. So we have to use the to be form of simple past tense. Students, we have learned before that to be form of simple past tense is was, were. So we have to choose was or were according to our new subject. As our new subject is a letter which is singular and we use was with the singular subject, so we have taken to be form of simple past tense, that is was. Our next step is to write the V3 form of the given verb in the active voice. Our verb in the active voice is wrote and we know write, wrote, written. That means in V3 form wrote becomes written. So we have written the V3 form here. And the last step is to write a preposition by before the object. Here the object is me and before it we have written by. So our final answer becomes a letter was written by me. If we see the next example, I shall or will write a letter. Students, one thing you must know that with I we can use shall or will. Both are correct. And now we are going to change this one, that is this example, into passive voice. First we need to swap the subject and object. I becomes me in the object and a letter which was object in active voice becomes the subject. Our next task is to find out the tense in the active voice. Students, you can see our tense is simple future tense because the structure of simple future tense is subject plus shall or will according to the subject plus V1, that is the base form of the verb. Here you can see that we have subject I, then we can choose shall or will because both are correct with I. Then is our V1 form, that is the base form of the verb which is right here. So students, here the structure matches with the simple future tense. So the tense here is simple future tense. As the tense here is simple future tense, we have to choose the to be form of simple future tense. We know the to be form of simple future tense is will be or shall be. Students, as here later, that is third person, we always use will with the third person. So we have used will, then is be, as the to be form of simple future tense is be. Next student, we have to write the V3 form of the given verb. Here the given verb is write, which becomes written in the past participle, that is V3. Therefore, we have written. Now, we have to use preposition by before the object. Our object is me, and before me we have used by. So our final example or answer in passive voice is a letter will be written by me. Our next example is I have written a letter. Our first step is to swap subject and object. I becomes me in the object, and the object a letter becomes us a letter, which is subject in passive voice. Now we have to see the tense given in active voice. Students, the tense in active voice here is present perfect tense, because the structure of present perfect tense is subject plus has or have plus V3 form of the verb, that is past participle form. See student, here subject is I. As I is the subject, we have chosen have. Next we have written the V3 form of write, that is written. So it matches with the structure of present perfect tense. Therefore, the tense in active voice here is present perfect tense. Students, we have learned before that with perfect tense, the be verb, that is the to be verb which we use in passive voice with the perfect tense is been. So here we will use been. So our sentence in the passive voice will be a letter, then we have to write has, that is has, because the subject here is a letter which is third person singular. Therefore we have used has. Then we will write to be form of perfect, that is been. Next we will write V3 form, because we have to write the V3 form in passive voice, which is the third step. Next we will write by before the object me. So our final answer become a letter has been written by me. Students, here we had have, which became has, because here the subject was I, but here the subject is a letter which is third person singular. Therefore we have used has with it. Now students, if we go through the next example, that is I had written a letter, first we have to swap the subject and object. I becomes me, a letter which was object becomes the subject in passive. Next job is to find out the tense of active voice. Student, here the tense is past perfect tense, because the structure of past perfect tense is subject plus had plus V3. See student, here the subject is I. After that we has had. Next we have V3, that is the past participle form. So the structure of past perfect tense matches with the given structure in active voice. Therefore, it is in past perfect tense. And students, we know that in perfect tense, we will use to be, which is been, B-E-E-N. Therefore, after interchanging the subject, a letter becomes our new subject. Next we have written had. After had we will write the to be form, that is been of perfect tense. Next we will write the V3 form, because in passive voice we need to change the verb into V3, and before me we have written by, which is a preposition. Students, we will remember always that we will use been in perfect tense after have, has or had, not before have, has or had. So you see, here after has we have used been, and here after had we have used been. Our next example is, students, our next example is I shall or will have written a letter. Students, first we need to swap the subject and object. Subject I becomes me in the object. A letter, which was subject, becomes a letter in the subject. Students, next we have to identify the tense in active voice. Students, here the tense is in future perfect tense, because the structure of future perfect tense is subject plus shall or will according to the subject plus have plus V3 form of the verb. Student, here the subject is I. Students, you must know that with I and we can use shall or will, but with other subject we always use will. So students, here the structure is subject plus shall or will plus have plus V3, which is the structure of future perfect tense. So here the structure is future perfect tense. So students, the to be form of perfect tense is been. Therefore, we will use been as the to be form here. First, we will write a letter, then we'll have. I have already said that we will use been after have, has and had always. Therefore, after have we have used been. Next is our V3 form of the given verb, that is write, wrote, written. So V3 form is written. Next is the preposition by. Next is our object me. So our final answer is a letter will have been written by me. Students, the next example is I am writing a letter. First we will swap the subject and object. I becomes me. A letter in object becomes a letter in subject in passive voice. Next, if we see the structure of tense given in active voice, we will find that it is the structure of present continuous tense, because according to the structure of present continuous tense, we use subject plus am or is or are according to the subject plus V1 plus ing. Students, here the subject is I, therefore we have used am with it, and we have added ing with the V1 form right. So student, here the structure is present continuous tense, and we have learned that in to be form of continuous tense we use being, B-E-I-N-G, which we will use after the helping verb, that is here is because the subject here is letter, a letter. Therefore, the helping verb will be is, and after is we have used the to be form of continuous tense, that is being. Then after it we have used the V3 form, as we have to use the V3 form of the verb, which is according to our third step, and after that we have used by before the object, which is our fourth step. So our final answer becomes a letter is being written by me. The next example is I was writing a letter. Here we need to swap the subject and object. So I becomes me, and a letter in object becomes a letter in subject in passive voice. Students, next we will see the tense given in active voice. We will see that it is given in past continuous, because the structure of past continuous is subject plus was or were plus V1 plus ing. Here see, subject is I. As I is singular, we have used was with it, and we have added ing with the verb. So we can say that the structure given in active voice is in past continuous tense. So as it is continuous tense, so to be form of continuous tense is being, which we will use after helping verb. Here the subject becomes are letter. So according to the subject we have chosen was, then being, that is the to be form of continuous tense, and we have written the v3 form of the verb right, that is written. Then after that we have used the preposition before the object me. So like this we complete with the 8 types of tense. Students, you must know that only we can change active to passive for 8 tenses, not for the all 12 tenses. Students, as I said that I will be teaching you active passive with a mantra, that is a song. So we will start with the song in the next video, and we will continue with the active voice given in imperative sentence, interrogative sentence, in a sentence where you will find two objects, a sentence where you will find preposition along with the verb given in the active voice, which we need to change to passive. So in the next class we will learn all these things, and I will complete the topic in the next class. So students, till then, enjoy your life and enjoy your studies. Thank you.